Okay, I'm going to maybe regret this, but what I'm going to do is I don't like all of this segregation of certain things here. I'm going to go under UI, and I'm going to make a folder called base elements. In fact, I'm going to change that to just, I'm going to rename that to just base. And I'm going to go into button. I'm going to close all of these other tabs I have up here. And I'm going to go into button. I'm going to get my button base. I'm going to drag it and I'm going to move to base. And I'm going to go into values and I'm going to move my base value base to base. And that makes me a little bit happier. I don't know what I'm going to use in values. That might get deleted. Now, one thing I'm going to see is I'm going to look for redirects in here. Other filters, show redirectors. And just going to go up into here. Why isn't it not? Should be showing me only redirectors. Maybe I don't have any. Okay, because sometimes when you move things around, it needs to put things to things so that it creates paths between things. So I'm going to just have that there for now. Anyways, I'm going to go into base and I'm going to create a new one. And I want to create a new widget blueprint. And that's going to, again, come off of our HFX user widget. And this one's going to be is going to be our our attribute name or a piece of text and our value. And then we're also going to put a placeholder in it for a button, but that'll be next. So this one's going to be WBP, so it's a widget blueprint, and we're going to call it text value row. So we'll open that one up. In our text value row, we want a text value row. So again, we want a size box to start things off. I don't know why it's not in the common. So size box. And that'll be again our root. Size box root. We're going to want a horizontal box to help keep things in nice order here. So I'm going to get a horizontal box and put that in there. Inside our horizontal box, we want a couple of different items. First, we're going to want a text box. Oops, common. So a text box that we'll start off with. Let me put this back to desired and go back to my size box, and I'm going to override the width and the height. And I'm going to start with, I don't know, 500. And by 30, by 40. Probably as we change the values of these texts, we'll adjust something. 32 is way too big. I'm going to go back down to 16 because 16 looks pretty small, but I don't need it to be massive, but maybe 20. Maybe 20 is a good size. So I want a text box there, and I'm just going to put in a value in it in the content here. I'm going to type something like uh, critical hit resistance. Okay. And I'm going to, hey, if I do a spacing on the resistance of the, maybe 100. Just kind of widen out the lettering a little bit. Um, okay, so we need a text box. I'm going to give this a name of text um, row title. Row, row title. That's good. Something, something. The text, I'm going to want it centered and centered. That looks better, I think. And actually, I'm going to horizontally align that, or I mean, uh, left justify and center vertically. Next thing, we want to bring in one of our user created items. So we want our value. You know, looks pretty horrible there. And then there's a spacer that we can put in. Well, let me put in, um, there's a thing called a named slot. And I'm going to put that in here at the end. Now I've got a bunch of stuff going on here. Not quite right. Our horizontal box, size box, horizontal box. So many settings in here, drives you crazy. I fill with that. Framed value, I want right justified because I always want it to be on the side. I got the wrong one. I want my value to be right horizontal. I want my left to be left horizontal. And seem to have a large gap in here, but this word's going to come bigger and smaller, but that's kind of the biggest it's going to be. So let's look at our size box and maybe 400, 450, maybe 450. That looks pretty good. So that's fine. Here's our value. Our named slot. A named slot you can fill it in later with other things, and if it's empty, it doesn't show up or something to that effect. So this is where we're going to put our button in the future, and we're going to want to center it in its spot as well. And I want a little gap between the button when it gets filled in and this value. So there's a spacer object. So I can bring a spacer in, and I want it in the horizontal box. I'm just going to move it up, and I'm going to give it a size of what's 20 look like? Maybe 20 looks good. Again, we can play with fonts and all the wonderful stuff, and we probably will. So let's set some of this up. Um, so let's go to our graph. Get rid of these two things, and let's start with the size of our box, similar to what we've done before. So we will go back to our designer, our size box. We want that to be a variable. Compile and save. Come back here. Here's my size box. I'm going to get it. And let's get the width. Set the width override. And promote that to a variable. Size box. Width. And copying and pasting that. And getting our height override. And we will, whoops. I'll promote that to variable. Size box height. Not crazy about these variable names. Okay, and compile and save that. And if I look at the width, I think we said like 450 and a height of 40. Save, go take a look. That looks good. Because as I change this value, everything else kind of stays. That's fine. So that'll kind of format to the whatever kind of column box that we end up putting it in. So that's step one. And I think that's where I'm going to stop this for now. I'm going to change this name to slot. Name slot 0. I don't even know if I need to do that. Probably not. Looks good to me, but at least it's a value. I don't think I want the base thing in here though. Okay, we're going to fix the thing here. I'm going to go into my values folder, and I'm going to right click and make a new widget blueprint. And I want it from a WBP value base. Select that. That's going to be WBP, and this is going to be attribute values. I'm going to open this one up, and let's see what we've got that we can change. So the background brush we've exposed, and so I want to change that to be blue. And I'm going to basically save the rest of it and say that's fine. I'm going to go now to where we had our text value row. Well, I'm going to go back to the content browser, and I'm going to make a different folder in UI. And I'm going to make this folder, and I'm going to call this um, uh, display, no, um, I'm just going to call it rows. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to go back up to with this base because this is not really a base. It is a base, but it's a row base. Nope. I'm going to change the name of rows to tables. Table? Table. Stuff to do with a table. So I'm going to take this text value row that I've got here and I'm going to move it to table. And then in table inside here, I'm going to reopen this back up, and this value base is I'm going to delete it, and we are going to add a user created one of our attribute value. I'm going to put it right there. And so this is a attribute value row that's going to fill a table, and that makes a little more sense to me as far as our uh, hierarchy of our folders here. Okay, so that makes me a little bit happier. In the table then, um, I'm going to now want a an additional text value row. Yeah. So now I want to create a new widget interface here, and it's going to be off of WBP text value row. And this one is going to be WBP text value button row. So I'm going to open that one up. And it has this named slot that we get to populate. And I think I can just bring, we want our square button. So I'm going to grab this user created square button and I'm going to drag it into my into my named slot. And it went very, very, very small. Okay, so I found, don't know why, but what else is new? So let's delete this square button that we just put in here. Go back to our name slot, and let's start by adding an overlay. That kind of gives us some space, I guess. And then we can put our square button inside our overlay, and now we've got our square button. And if I go into my square button here, size, I can. What I need to do is go back to my button base, go to my button base, and in the graph for our button properties, for our font family, we want to expose that so we can change it, and the label we want to change, and if we wanted to change the font size, I could create a variable for that, but I'm not gonna right now. I just want to be able to change the text in that. So if I compile that now and save and come back to my text value button row and select my button, I can now change the value here. And so what I want is a plus sign here for being able to add values to my number, because this is going to be for our primary attribute representation. And so I'll save that. And there's probably a bunch of other things I want to set in here. But maybe not. Maybe not right now. So the next step is we will create a container that's going to contain our text value rows, right? So all of the defined attributes or derived attributes, and then ones for our um, ones that we can set. We'll start to pull together all the logic then that fills this all stuff out compared to everything else. So that'll be a good uh, pile to do in another effort. Thanks a lot. Hopefully we get to the end of this soon.